He's not
They
going
didn't
to
even
come up.
acknowledge it. It's funny how they acknowledge the name. The name would come up, but there was not even a response. It was just mute. You know what I mean? Because the best way to just take away the energy is not even to respond to it. There was never a response until Lomachenko's last fight when he tweeted about him. Never had I heard Davis even mention Lomachenko before.
It's barely been a week since Tank Davis's big knockout victory over Frank Martin, but there is already a long list of challengers wanting to be his next opponent. Shakur Stevenson is one of those who want the opportunity to fight Davis. But before that fight can happen, Tank Davis is getting ready to face Vasily Lomachenko. Boxing promoter Bob Arum has said that Lomachenko is eager to make the fight happen. He told Boxing Scene, "We're up for that fight. Lomachenko's up for that. When we sit down, we will see if it's feasible, but Lomachenko would like to do that fight." Lomachenko and Tank have been avoiding each other for years, but now it seems that their teams are finally on the same page to set up a fight between the two. They want the match to happen later this year in November. Arum revealed Carl Moretti has been talking to Louis DeCubas for a couple of weeks now. Hopefully, we'll put it together for sometime in November. Nobody is dragging anybody to the table. Both sides know it's a big fight, which means they're looking forward to earning a lot of money, and they're both competitive guys. He went on to say that he was optimistic about the negotiations. While nothing is guaranteed, these are all professionals, so they will work it out.
So, again, I'm optimistic that the negotiations will go well. You never can guarantee that, but, the PBC guys are professional. My people are professionals, and they'll work it out.
Some fans wanted to see Tank Davis face Shakur Stevenson first, but it seems that there is more hype for the match with Lomachenko. Stevenson had a rather stale decision win over Edwin de los Santos in his last fight, whereas Lomachenko dominated his last fight against George Kambosos Jr. and got the win by technical knockout. Arum argued that it's simply a bigger fight. He mentioned that any plans with Shakur will have to be made after he becomes a free agent. Davis and Lomachenko is a bigger fight than Davis and Shakur. Shakur will be a free agent after his July 6th fight. After this, we'll have to know what his plans are before we make any commitments to him, because we may not be his promoter. If he does resign, we have some really interesting fights for him, but I'm not going to go into that, because right now he's a free agent after July 6th. He's been a great fighter for us, we've enjoyed promoting him, and we'll see what happens down the line. Arum also said that if the fight between Tank and Lomachenko is made, WBC lightweight champion Stevenson would be a good option to face the winner next. He said to Fight Hype, "Shakur is a tremendous fighter. He's got a tough fight against Artem Harutyunyan coming up on July 6th, but certainly if the Tank-Lomachenko fight is made, Shakur will take another fight about that time and be available to fight the winner. Shakur is a tremendous talent, and whoever wins the Lomachenko-Tank fight, I'm sure, would like to fight Shakur after that." Former Italian-American professional boxer Paulie Malignaggi had a different view on this whole situation. He feels that Gervonta Davis is avoiding Shakur Stevenson. Malignaggi got frustrated when he heard Davis mention Lomachenko's name after his victory against Frank Martin.
Lomachenko, interested in that fight? November,
for sure.
Talked about?
Yeah, for sure. As long as we go back to the drawing board, and I wanted to fight all of them.
He said to Pro Box TV, they talked about Lomachenko at the post-fight press conference. Stevenson moved his way up a little bit faster and physically was bigger than Lomachenko, despite the fact that they both started at featherweight. Paulie suggested that Davis is choosing Lomachenko as he is older, as opposed to 26-year-old Stevenson, who is still in his prime. He said, "Now that Lomachenko is 175 years old and he still looks good, but you're Tank Davis naming Lomachenko at the post-fight press conference last Saturday night, but now Stevenson is the prime guy who doesn't represent a risk that you want to take. From Tank's point of view, it makes sense to fight Lomachenko now, as the Ukrainian fighter may retire soon. If he misses this chance, we may never get to see them fight. Shakur Stevenson still has years to go, so Tank can fight him later." Paulie feels differently, as he thinks that it's already too late for the match. Davis just had a very impressive victory over Martin, and they might be making this match now because it's convenient. This is my issue here. When I wanted to see Davis and Lomachenko, I wanted to see Davis and Lomachenko. I don't need to see Davis and Lomachenko when it's too late already. Now, I want to see Davis and Stevenson. Guess what? Nobody is talking about Davis and Stevenson. That's my issue. That's my problem with boxing. They make fights when it's convenient for them when there's an advantage. Davis looked terrific against Frank Martin. I was very impressed with the performance. Critics say that Stevenson had a very poor performance in his last match against Edwin de los Santos, so it makes sense for Tank to avoid fighting him. But Paulie feels that his victory proves he is a good challenger. He expects him to do much better than Frank Martin. The way he was able to go and get that win, but come on, Shakur Stevenson is a different proposition than anybody else. The little bit of problems that you saw Frank giving Davis, it's times 10 when Shakur is in there, because Shakur is the tall, rangy southpaw with a lot more IQ and a lot more versatility with his style. Paulie went on to explain Stevenson's abilities in the ring. He said that while his movement can seem boring to some, it shows his high IQ and ring awareness, which is just as much a part of boxing as the throwing of punches.
Another thing that people don't recognize about Shakur is, you said it exactly right. You come in 6, he goes back 8.5. But he also covers the same distance. When you go back, he'll step back in. So people say he runs. He steps back in, but a lot of times he doesn't throw. That's the problem. Okay?
No.
He steps back in and he mutes you. By stepping back in, now you put your hands, you leave your hands home, because now he's pressing you mentally as well. He steps out and he steps back in as well. It's a part of the in the ring fight that doesn't involve punching, and sometimes it looks boring because people don't get it and don't understand the IQ of it. But he controls you a lot of times without throwing, because when he's throwing, he's so sharp.
Paulie wants this fight to happen when both are in their primes. While he has always favored Shakur Stevenson, he also praises Davis and feels that he is qualified for the unification match. I'd love to see the fight. I'm saying this because I want to see the fight. I think Davis is very qualified for that fight. Do I edge Shakur? I've always edged Shakur. I think Davis is very qualified for that fight. He looks terrific. He's a thinker. It's not just the twitch and the power, it's also his understanding in there. He knows how to set things up. I want to see two Shakur and Tank get it on, not later. I want to see them get it on now in their prime. Boxing coach and fight commentator Teddy Atlas also commented on the fight and why Davis might be avoiding Stevenson. He said, "Stevenson is a difficult fight for anyone. He's not just difficult to beat, he's difficult to look good against. So that's the problem too, and he controls range so well. He's like Mariano Rivera, the great close for the Yankees. He only had like 2 pitches, but that's all he needed to get you out." Atlas feels that Stevenson's ability to control range and his quick hands give him a big advantage.
That's kind of like Shakur. He's got his legs, his ability to control range and quick hands. And that's it. And he does it marvelously. He does it impeccably.
Atlas continued with his praise for Stevenson, describing him as smart and very aware of his surroundings inside the ring. Atlas stated, "He knows every inch of that ring and he knows exactly where he is. He's got good eyes. Very smart," as Paulie said. But he is Mariano Rivera. His one thing is he controls range. You come in 6 inches, he goes back 8.5. And he looks at the count of you before you come running close. While Stevenson doesn't always act as people expect him to do, Atlas feels that this is him being cautious. He said, "He doesn't always come back and do quite as much as you think he could do. And listen, part of it is his temperament. Part of it is why he's great, because he is cautious. But he's not so cautious that he doesn't have the edge, that he doesn't understand that he's winning." Atlas explained that Stevenson does not care about pleasing the crowd. He won't take risks just cause the fans want to see him do more. And all this is part of why he's been successful.
He is not gonna please the crowd. He's not gonna go and please me or please anyone else. He's gonna please himself. And his temperament is not going to allow him to take those chances where some of the fans with his great talent want to see him do a little bit more. He's not going to do that. But at the same time, he is that great pitcher that, can disarm you. He can, without throwing a 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
Going back to the possibility of Stevenson's fight with Tank, Teddy Atlas agrees that fights should not be delayed until people are beyond their prime. While we still can't count out Lomachenko, Atlas would have preferred to see this fight when he was younger. He said, "Pacquiao Mayweather came too late and I wanted to see that fight. It came too late. Look, it's late for Lomachenko. I never count him out, but let's face it. I would have paid to watch Lomachenko and Tank when Lomo was in his prime. I would have paid to watch that. To watch a guy, could he disarm this bomb called Tank Davis? I wanted to see the aggression of Lomachenko. I wanted to see the guile of him, the smarts of him, the elusiveness of him versus the pure power of Davis." Atlas feels that Davis could also match Stevenson in areas other than his power. The fight would have shown who had a greater will. Atlas said, but not just power. Davis could match Lomachenko in areas where he's smart, where his technique is tremendous, where he's clever, where he's just really technically solid just like Lomachenko is. I wanted to see that matchup and see what men would be left standing. And I wanted to see who had the greater will. I'd throw that in too, because that's where you get wills tested, in those kind of fights. Now, in order for this fight with Shakur to happen, Tank Davis would have to win his match against Lomachenko. What are all the experts predicting to happen when those two collide? Who do they think will win? World-class trainer Andre Rozier did a breakdown of the fight in a recent interview. He started by mentioning how it's a fight that he'd love to see. He also mentions that Lomachenko is getting older, so they shouldn't delay it too much. That's one of the fan-favorite fights that I'd love to see. It will be an action-packed bout. I would love to see it. I would really love to see it. I just don't want it two come too late, because Lomo is getting up there. If I'm not mistaken, he's about 36 now. So he's right around that corner, 36, 37. We've been seeing fighters going a little bit longer at their peak, which is good. But eventually somewhere along the line it starts to slow down. He went on to describe Tank as someone who can dictate his policy, so it is dangerous for Lomachenko to be in the ring with him. While Rozier thinks it will be a very interesting fight, he also says that if it doesn't happen soon, he wouldn't want to see it at all. 357-413. When asked to pick his favorite to win, here is what he said. Well, I'm a guy that sticks to my guns, and Tank is my guy. But Lomo, if he doesn't lose anything, and he can deal with the type of punching power that's going to be presented to him, it might be a toss-up. It's two southpaws facing each other. It will be very interesting to see, it really would. The equator is that they're both fantastic fighters. Rozier feels that the biggest strength for Lomachenko is his ability to control angles in the ring and his craftiness. On the other hand, Gervonta's biggest advantage is his ability to end the match with just one shot.
The Midas touch for Lomachenko is his craftiness and his ability to shift and control angles in the ring. The Midas touch for Gervonta is one shot and it might be all over.
He was also asked about a possible fight between Lomachenko and Shakur Stevenson in the future, and here's what he had to say. Very interesting bout. Two boxers, elite status, fundamentals of Class A. I would hope it wouldn't be a stinker to tell you the truth. When you get two world-class athletes of that character and of that ability, sometimes you get stinkers. They're just trying to outbox each other. Former pro boxer Zab Judah gave his prediction for the fight between Gervonta and Lomachenko. He believes that Tank Davis's brute strength will help him overcome Lomachenko. Judah explained, I gotta go with the punching power. American professional boxer Manny Robles also commented on the match. He expects that it will be a great fight. He praised Tank Davis for his recent performance against Martin and feels that the fighter deserves to be on the list for the best pound-for-pound boxers.
How does he fare against Lomachenko?
Oh man, be a great fight, I'll tell you. It'd be a great fight. What a great performance by Tank. To systematically break his opponent down and know exactly what was going on every round, every minute of every round. He broke his fighters down, man. It's just like, it's remarkable the IQ that this kid has. He definitely should be on the pound for pound list. He deserves to be on the pound for pound list. Top 5 maybe. And he's just an incredible fighter and a fun fighter to watch.
He was asked if he feels that Lomachenko will be able to crack the code and overcome Davis. Robles predicted that the match could go either way. You saw what Lomachenko did in his fight. It was a remarkable performance by Loma. He's one of my favorite fighters, as a matter of fact. He's 135. any way you look at it. I think it would be a 50-50 fight, but it'd be a great fight. It would be a fan-friendly fight. And because Loma likes to fight too. He's a technician, but just like Tank's a technician. But he can get in there and fight. So I think it'd be a fun fight to watch. It'd be a great fight. He went on to say that he sees the fight going the distance, as both fighters are very smart with a high IQ. He expects both fighters to pick each other apart and use every advantage at their disposal. Well, whoever wins this fight, Shakur Stevenson will be waiting in line to face them next. Stevenson aims to eventually become undisputed champion at 135 pounds, and he is ready to fight both Lomachenko and Davis in his path to get there. That's it for today's video. Do you think Gervonta Davis is avoiding a fight with Shakur Stevenson? Who do you think wins, Tank or Lomachenko? Let us know in the comments. If you like our channel, make sure to check out some of the other videos on the screen right now.